Hi everybody, Kitsune over here and welcome to my channel. If you haven't been with me very long, you probably don't know that this channel was initially for making things. And we kind of got sidetracked, stuff went on. I started opening packages, which everybody seems to like, so we're still doing that. But I need to pull back in what we were doing originally. And today, pulling back on a theme that I had breached previously, I'm going to be doing a project. Concerning ITA bags. If you don't know what an ITA bag is, here's one style. This is the kind that I carry, and I'm doing this one for a friend of mine. Basically, they open up, they have a clear panel somewhere on them where you can display your collection. This is a Japanese fashion item, and it's called an ITA bag. In fact, it's ITA, and some people are like, oh, that's the derogatory Lolita fashion thing. No, it's not little Ita. No, Ita means painful. This is to become an eyesore. It's supposed to be cluttered with everything you're passionate about, your pins, your action figures, your favorite anime, your favorite J-pop, K-pop, whatever, is to be on display in this bag. Now they're kind of nice, except for one thing. As you can see, when you put your pins in here and you open it up, your pin backs are going to be right there scratching and falling off and being all sorts of a nuisance. So, what do you do about this? You make drop-ins. Now, a drop-in is basically just made out of craft foam, and the kind that we use, this stuff right here. You'll need thick, and you need a thin piece. And do they say what kind of foam it is? This is this foam sheet. Cosplayers will use some of this when doing armors and things in thicker sheets, not this thinner stuff. But this you can get pretty much anywhere that they have kids craft supplies, because you can use it for all sorts of things. But you'll take a thick sheet and a thin sheet, cut them the shape, slap them together, and while this would work just fine, why stop there? Of course you're going to want to make them look nice. So you'll wrap it in fabric. And in this case, I'm using this one. I don't know how well it shows up in the camera, but this has such a nice sparkle to it, lovely autumny kind of colors, but it didn't have to be autumn. I can carry on, and I'm thinking it might look pretty good with this gold bag. So, let's get down to it, and we'll get this made. So the first thing you're going to need to do is probably make a template for this. And the best way to do it is usually just to do a piece of paper, press it inside the clear part. So you're going to open this up fully, let this fall, and you're going to want to measure this just inside of that edge. That way it allows it to sit down, and then you're going to back it off a little bit. Don't make it tight to that edge, because when you add your fabric and the layers of foam and then put pins on there, it's going to get really thick and it's going to press on this. So leave yourself about a 1/4 of an inch in size all the way around after you measure these plastics. Now, I've already done templates a long time ago, and yes, they're ugly, but they do the job. So this one here is the template I had for the lower part. And it is a little bit tight, but you can see there's a bit of a gap all the way around. And then I have the template for the top. Now you'll note that this one has a bit of a gap up here, and that's because of these right here. This allows you to hang a little decorative chain. Not all of them have that. You can make room for it, or you can ignore it, whichever you choose to do. But you make it so that it fits in here pretty decently well. I think this one I had to do adjustments for it though. Yeah, it seems this one's a little bit rounder at the top. So in this case, I'll just need to add a little bit of fullness at the top here, and maybe Let me see. I need to take in the corners. Not really. That wedges it in there good. So there we'll have templates in my case. Yours will be made out of paper. And all you'll do is lay those templates down on your foam and get them cut out. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done next. So the first one is going to be thick. You're going to have one thick and one thin. The thick one is going to be the front piece where the pins stick through. The thin one will go on the back of it to allow the pin to give padding to the pin backs so they're not sticking out like it would have been otherwise. That will trap it. Let's use this. It'll trap the pin backs in here like this. If you are working with black foam, you're going to need some white chalk or silver marker or something to do the marking with. You don't have to worry about it showing up later. This is going to be inside of the fabric. Just lay it down. Even up your edges a bit. That will help. If you take it to a corner, you don't have to cut as much. Around the corners. There's that one on the thick. All right, here's the other one. And remember, I need to make an adjustment here. The top and the sides need straightened just slightly. There. Let's put the rounds back into the corners. All right. Now let's get the thin pieces and do the same thing. Because I did adjustments, I'm going to do something a little different than I normally would do. I'm going to go ahead and get these cut out first and then do the tracings off of these onto the thin. That way I get a better fit. Remember when you're cutting these, because you're tracing around a template, cut inside the line all the way around, not on the outside. So make sure the white chalk piece or whatever you marked with is being cut off. And here I am realizing I may have just cut off some of that visually because I didn't know where the camera was pointing apparently. Let me show you the trace again. Now this time we're just tracing off of the pieces that were already cut for the template out of the thick foam. Now we're going to put it on the thin foam. Let's do the other end here. You use cutting more than you have to. once you have those cut, go ahead and try them out just to make sure that the sizing is still good and do any adjustments that are needed from there. So this one I need to corner it just a little bit. The bottom looks like it's just fine as it is. There we are, and I still have room for these to come through should a chain be used. So the next thing we're going to do is make the cover. Okay, now it is time to make the fabric covers to go over our drop-ins. Choosing this fabric, just going to open it up so that I'm looking at the wrong side. I've got a lot of it here. When I say wrong side, this is the outside printed part you're going to look at. You want the side you're not looking at. Now we'll take one of these. I'll use the thick one because it'll be easiest. And you can see I've got this folded over toward me. Maybe you can't see. Let me try that again. Might be easier without a tablecloth. Anyway, the fold of the fabric is facing me, and I am going to set this at the bottom edge just about 1/8 of an inch, which makes it about the thickness of the foam, but 1/8 of an inch above that fold. So you can just barely see it peeking out. I am going to give myself a little bit of a seam allowance, whatever you're comfortable with. Please remember that you have a thickness to deal with, so you want to add that as well. So if you do a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around, and this is 1/8 of an inch thick, add 1/8 of an inch to it. I'm usually not that precise myself, but I'm kind of used to doing this, so I can kind of get away with it. Also, to make sure I get good outer edges, I can use straight edge and place it at the edges where I want that to be and trace on that. From the bottom up, do not finish your top just yet. I'll show you why. Up here at the top, you're going to want a flap, but only on one side. If it's easier for you, go ahead and cut it into both sides of the fabric. If not, you don't need to worry about it. Make sure you're only cutting one side. I'm going to do it on both just to make it easier for now. You want your flap to be able to come down far enough to put Velcro in here. So if you have inch wide Velcro, add 1 inch to that extra seam allowance plus some. This is rather imprecise, I know. But I'm showing you what I do. Not precisely what is normally done with real sewing. So, as you can see, I have given myself at least 1.5 inches up here. To keep it from slipping, I'm just going to stick a pin in it. Hopefully without getting the tablecloth. And I'm going to cut it out. Now, one of these flaps I'm going to fold down. Use this as a measure. So that will be out of the way on the inside. Alright, that's pinned down to the inside. And while I'm at it, I'm going to give a nice hem to this upper one as well. Just a little bit. And I will very likely zigzag this. If you're not really good at sewing, or if you're doing this by hand and hemming is a bit of a problem for you, there is no problem whatsoever with using fabric glue to glue the hem down. It's just going to take you a little longer because you got to wait for it to dry. Alright, so I'm going to do this along this edge as well. Just far enough for the flap to come down. It doesn't have to go the whole way because you're going to need to be able to sew this together. So let me get that done here. I'm going to show you how to pin together the outsides when I return. Alright, I've got these done for the top and the bottom. You can see I have stitched the wider flap for the inside, the narrower flap for the top, and the top one has the edges hemmed in. Now, I'm going to flip this inside out again. This is smooth here. Might have to adjust it a little bit, but that's okay. And I will take the pieces that are going to fit inside, line them up, and I'm going to make marks where I'm going to place my pins. Where this curves in at the top, don't bring it all the way in. It'll make it hard to put in. It can come in a little bit just to make a good shape, but don't come all the way to the top. Alright, now I can see where my pins need to go. And I'm going to go to the inside of the line, not on it and not outside of. Go this way. Then you'll go back to the sewing machine Sew along the inside of that line on both sides, and then you'll be ready to add in your Velcro across the top. The Velcro only needs to be as long as this inside area, and then you just stitch it flat all the way along. I'll be back after I get those put together. Alright, we're seamed in, the Velcro is on. I trim it and turn it inside out. This should go in kind of tight. There we are. The Velcro will be at the bottom. This is your top edge. You'll slip it right into the front face of the pouch and zip closed. Just like that. To place pins in these, you can either take the foam completely out, if you're comfortable with that, or just reach inside. You'll push the pin in here, and in between you'll put the back on. Just choose your placement. I think this would be cute here. Oops. Press it through. Then inside. Place the pin back, and this foam will keep it from pressing through. And then close it, and you're ready to go. Now this was just the basic of how I make these. There are any sort of variations that you can do. And pretty much it's an easy project. If you can't sew, you can do it with fabric glue. Sewing is going to be a little bit sturdier though. You can glue this onto your thick piece of foam and then just do a simple wraparound. It's up to you. By doing it this way, you have the pin backs enclosed in case they do work their way off. And when you put a drop in into this pouch, you now make a usable pocket behind it so that you don't have to have everything you have exposed to the world. So, if you like this content, please remember to like, subscribe, and share. I do post every Friday, or at least I try to. And I'm going to try and have a few more of the making projects in here. I haven't done a lot of them recently, but there will be more. And anyway, guys, don't forget to visit me on Patreon, Etsy, and if you would like to see some doll art content, then check me out on Doll Yokai here on YouTube. And thank you all so very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.